So you're getting into network automation. That's awesome. But you've probably figured out pretty quickly that it's not just about writing scripts, right? It's really about managing data. All those device names, all the IP addresses, the VLANs. In this explainer, we're going to build your core toolbox for handling all that data, so you can start building some seriously powerful automation.
And that right there, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's easy to think, oh, I'll just write a script to push a command. But that command is totally useless without the right information, a hostname, an interface, and IP. So before we can really automate anything, we have to solve this puzzle. How do we organize all the data that defines our network?
And this is the stuff we're talking about. I mean, look at this list. This is your day-to-day reality, right? These are the fundamental building blocks of pretty much any network config you'll ever write. Our goal here is to find a smart, structured way to manage all this information right inside our scripts.
Okay, so let's dive in. We're going to start with the absolute basics. Think of these as the nuts and bolts, the simple containers that are going to hold all our information. We need to get this right before we can build the engine.
The first and most fundamental container you need to know is a variable. Honestly, the label on a box analogy is perfect. You take a piece of data, say a router's hostname, and you just stick a label on it, called hostname. From then on, whenever you use that label, Python knows exactly what data you're talking about. Simple as that.
And here's the really cool part. Python is smart. It automatically understands what's inside the box you just labeled. If it's text inside quotes, it calls it a string. If it's a whole number, that's an integer. A number with a decimal, that's a float. And a simple true or false, that's a Boolean. These 4 basic types are the foundation for everything else we're going to do.
Okay, and I have to stop here and give you a huge piece of advice. You could call your variable x, sure, but I promise you 6 months from now, you're going to look at that code and have no idea what x was for. Using clear, descriptive names makes your code understandable not just for other people, but for your future self. It's such a simple habit, and it pays off big time.
All right, time to grab the first tool from our toolbox, the string. I mean, so much of network engineering is just wrangling text, right? You're building command lines, you're parsing the output from show commands. Strings are the perfect tool for that job.
Seriously, forget all the old, clumsy ways you might have seen of trying to jam text together. The modern, clean, and just better way to do it is with f-strings. You just put a little f before the quotes, and then you can drop your variables right inside curly braces. It is so easy to read, and it makes building configs an absolute breeze.
But what about parsing data you get from a device? You know how messy that can be? This is where string methods are your best friend. Think of them like little mini tools that are attached to every single string. They let you do things like split a line into pieces, strip away annoying extra spaces, or standardize capitalization with one simple command. They're lifesavers.
Okay, so strings handle individual pieces of text. But what happens when you have a whole bunch of similar items? Like a group of IP addresses or a whole range of VLANs. For that, we need to grab our second tool, the list.
A list is, well, it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's an ordered collection of items. The key things to remember are the square brackets and the fact that it's designed to hold a group of similar things. It's the perfect container for, say, all your NTP servers or all the interfaces you need to configure.
Check this out. Here's a perfect real-world example. This is just a simple, clean list of numbers. Each number represents a VLAN we need to create. It's easy to write, easy to read, but the real magic happens when we start to do something with this list.
And this is how we unlock the true power of a list, a for loop. It's a way for us to say, hey Python, take this list, and for every single item inside it, I want you to perform this action. This is the engine of automation. It lets us repeat an action over and over without copying and pasting code.
And boom, here it is. For so many people, this is the big aha moment where automation really clicks. Look at this. With just 2 lines of Python code inside a loop, we can generate 10, 20, even hundreds of lines of configuration. We're combining our f-string tool with our list tool to do something that would be incredibly boring and tedious to do by hand. This is what efficiency looks like.
Okay, so a list is perfect for a whole bunch of similar items. But what about describing one single complex thing? Like a router with its hostname, its IP address, its BGP/AS number, all of its different properties. For that, we need our most powerful tool yet, the dictionary.
A dictionary is all about storing related pieces of information together. Instead of just a sequence of items, we have pairs of labels and values. We have a key, like hostname, and its value, which is core router 01. The blueprint analogy here is perfect. A dictionary is like a blueprint for a single device.
And if you're ever confused, just look at this. It makes the difference so clear. On the left, the list is a collection of similar items, in this case, a bunch of IP addresses. On the right, the dictionary describes the different properties of one single item. That's the key difference you need to remember.
Now, building one might look a little weird at first, but it's actually super logical when you break it down. You start and end with curly braces. Then, for each property, you have the key in quotes, a colon, and then its value. You just list out all the attributes you want to keep track of for your device.
And here's where it all comes together. This is the payoff. We use our fstring tool again, but this time, we pull specific values directly out of our dictionary by referencing their key. This lets us build rich, complex configurations that are all driven from one organized, easy-to-read data model.
And believe it or not, that's it. Those are the 3 essential data tools you need for your automation toolbox. Let's do a super quick recap of what we just put in there.
So if you remember one thing from all this, let it be this table. Each tool has a specific job. You use strings for working with text, you use lists when you have a collection of many similar items that you need to loop over, and you use dictionaries to model all the different properties of a single, complex thing, like a router.
But here's the secret, the real next level stuff. The incredible power comes when you start combining these tools. You don't just have one dictionary, you create a list of dictionaries. And suddenly, each item in your list is a complete blueprint for a device. This is how you start to model your entire network as data, and that unlocks truly massive, scalable automation.
So there you have it. You now have the fundamental building blocks. You can store text, you can manage groups of items, and you can model complex devices. You have the tools in your toolbox. So the only real question left is, what tedious, repetitive problem are you going to solve first?